In Peru, demonstrations continue against Dina Boluarte's government as Congress attempts to agree on early elections. And the Argentine national team arrived in the country after winning the FIFA World Cup 2022. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has assured in a message to the country that he will activate as many measures as necessary to unblock the judiciary and the Constitutional Court. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. And now we begin with the news. Peru's Congress will try to reach an agreement this Tuesday on early elections in order to solve the country's political crisis. President Dina Boluarte said that such an agreement will help ease tensions in Peru. So far, the right, center and left political parties in Congress have had differences on the deadline to call the elections and the conditions under which they should be held. Recently, Boluarte accused the Congress of blocking early elections. In Peru, the number of people killed in the repression of nationwide demonstrations demanding general elections and a new constitution rises to 26. The Health Ministry, in its most recent bulletin, said that of the 26 deaths, 9 were reported in the department of Ayacucho, 6 in Apurimac, 3 in Cusco, 3 in Junin, 3 in La Libertad, and 2 in Arequipa. And the government of Mexico has accepted to grant asylum to the ousted president of Peru, Pedro Castillo. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said that everything will be up to Castillo and his family. The Mexican head of state explained that the request for asylum had already been made, but the process still needs to be carried out and Castillo needs to agree. He added that in Mexico the doors are open for him and his family, and for all those who feel persecuted. And the Mexican economy showed a significant recovery during 2022 after last year's fall as a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. Macroeconomic indicators remain stable. However, in the streets, citizens still have concerns about the future regarding the global situation. From Mexico City, our correspondent Eduardo Martinez with the following report.
According to estimates by the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, the Mexican economy will close 2022 with a 3% growth approximately. However, consumers believe that they should be cautious regarding the global situation.
As the whole world is having lots of problems, impact. Sincerely, everything is on the rise. Omelets, beans, bread, etc. Vegetables, everything is on the rise.
The consumer price index stood at 7.8% in November, still above the central bank's target of 3%, but below other similar and even larger economies.
Mexico stayed in a very positive inflationary range compared to other countries such as Colombia, even Peru. Let's not talk about Argentina because it is a very special case, Brazil, or even the United States. We have a lower inflation and the major component is the energy prices control.
According to official estimates, if the fuel subsidy had been eliminated, inflation in Mexico would have reached double digits, amounting to 14%. We have to save money, because as far as we are concerned, we will continue to maintain the anti-inflationary plan. We are constantly striving to ensure that prices do not increase and that there is no shortage. López Obrador announced that by 2023, the policy benefits for those who have the least will be maintained. In the case of senior citizens, the pension will have an upward adjustment of 25%, while the minimum wage will increase by 20%.
Eduardo Martínez, TeleSUR, Ciudad de México.
Thanks, Eduardo. And now we move on to other topics. This Tuesday, the Argentine national team arrived in the country. The plane transporting Albiceleste from Qatar after winning the FIFA World Cup landed at Ezeiza Airport. After a month of intense competition, on Sunday, the whole country was draped in the national sky blue and white colors, as sporting rivalries were put onto one side and 45 million people celebrated a first World Cup success in 36 years. The team's success and their tangible togetherness has created a sense of hope amongst Argentines. The players will rest at hotel for a few hours before driving in a bus caravan up to the emblematic Buenos Aires Obelisk, where they will attend an official homecoming celebration. The Prime Minister of Haiti, Ariel Henry, has reiterated his willingness to hold elections in 2023 to restore democratic institutions and find a lasting solution to the national crisis. Once again, the Premier prefers to speak to the diplomatic representatives accredited in the country rather than to the Haitian citizens. In the meeting held with the consular staff, besides ratifying his commitment to the elections and recognizing that they open a way out of the crisis in the country, he supported the sanctions adopted by the United States and Canada, through which they supposedly punish those who support the armed groups and engage in illicit businesses. On Monday, negotiators at the UN Biodiversity Conference reached a historical deal that will represent the most significant effort to protect the world's lands and oceans. The global framework comes on the day on the United Nations Biodiversity Conference, or COP15, is set to end in Montreal. In the agreement, the governments of the world are committed to protect 30% of land and 30% of water.
Distinguished delegates, this is a historical moment. Today, at the end of a long journey, which involved numerous meetings in different parts of the world and moving forward with our work even at the height of the global COVID-19 pandemic, we finally reached our destination.
Let's take a short break, but first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. The Special Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives investigating the causes of the assault on the Capitol voted unanimously to indict former U.S. President Donald Trump. The committee determined that Trump did not contribute to the storming of the U.S. Congress, as he encouraged his supporters to rise up against the political and electoral system that, according to him, had allowed the alleged electoral fraud to benefit Biden. The inquiry committee determined Trump should be charged with conspiracy to defraud the country, false statements, incitement, and obstruction of official proceedings. Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko met in Minsk with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin to discuss economic cooperation.
In fact, our objective is to summarize some results in various fields. In recent times, we have been paying a lot of attention to security issues, to cooperation on the international scene. In general, we should be satisfied with how our relations are being built on this track.
From Minsk, the capital of Belarus, the President Alexander Lukashenko sent a message of congratulations to the people of Russia on the approaching of New Year.
Since we have met practically on the eve of the new year, Vladimir Vladimirovich Allow me to congratulate you on behalf of the people of Belarus. I believe that I will have the possibility to congratulate you personally. Not only I, but also all your friends, relatives, heads of state will have the possibility to congratulate the whole Russian people on the coming new year.
In Russia, gas giant Gazprom surpasses its own daily gas supply record to China through the Siberian forced gas pipeline. The energy company said it has surpassed its daily shipments to the Asian giant by 16.6% as part of the gas purchase and sale contract. Gazprom reported the all-time record shipment complies with China's request to increase daily supplies by December 2022. The Russian state-owned energy company and the Chinese National Oil Corporation have a contract for up to 30 years of cooperation. Russia and Iran announced the signing of bilateral cooperation agreements on health and education. Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin explained that the agreement involves cooperation in the training of specialists, prevention of infections, and promotion of healthy lifestyle, as well as the transfer of technologies specialized in the development of these areas. Since November the 1st, the Russian Ministry of Health and the Iranian Ministry of Health and Medical Education have signed a memorandum of understanding to ease such exchanges. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has assured in a message to the country that he will activate as many measures as necessary to unblock the judiciary and the Constitutional Court. While assuring that he does not share the court's decision that interferes with the legislative activity, he expressed that he will abide by the law, but warns that also from the law he will implement measures to unblock the situation with the organs of the Spanish justice. Before the actions of the political and judicial right, the head of government announced a forceful reaction, but reserved the details while he attacked the leadership of the Popular Party. EU energy ministers reached a political agreement on a temporary mechanism to limit excessive gas prices, setting a price cap at €180 per megawatt-hour. The Council of the EU said that the mechanism will enter into force starting February 15, 2023, and will be monitored by the Agency for the Cooperation of Energy Regulators. Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia will not supply anything abroad if it contradicts its interests. For its part, the ambassador for special missions for the Russian Foreign Ministry, Yorin Centurin, stated that setting a limit on the price of imported gas contradicts the laws of the market and will ultimately destabilize it. And the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte apologized on Monday on behalf of his government for the Netherlands' role in slavery and the slave trade. In a speech welcomed by activists as historic but lacking in concrete plans for reparations, Rutte apologized for the actions of the Dutch state in the past, posthumously to all enslaved people worldwide who have suffered from those actions, to their daughters and sons, and to all their descendants. Thousands of fans in central Paris cheered the arrival home of France's football team after losing one of the greatest World Cup finals. Supporters treated their national team to a warm welcome home in the winter evening called at Place La Concorde. They lifted flares, waved flags, and sang as players emerged on the balcony of the Hotel de Crillon. France played its part in one of the most memorable finishes in the World Cup history, even though the defending champion failed to retain the title. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. The Palestinian government urged the United Nations to monitor the situation in the occupied territories in view of the increase in killings made by the army and the Israeli settlers. The Prime Minister of Palestine, Mohammed Sayah, made the request due to the increase of extrajudicial executions and the escalation of terrorism in the neighboring nation. He criticized the recent statements of his Israeli counterpart, who said that he will only grant the Palestinians self-government, but never full sovereignty or security powers. And the government of Iran announced its willingness to resume its commitments to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action on Tehran's nuclear program. In this regard, the former Iranian Foreign Minister Sayyid Kamal Karazi declared that the past disagreements with the nuclear treaty have already been removed. He pointed out that the only remaining problem is the assurances for Iran, a situation which they hope will be solved during the visit to Tehran of the delegation of the International Atomic Energy Agency. On Monday, authorities raised the number of deaths to 31 and injured to 37 after the fire of a fuel truck inside the pass of Selang, the largest mountain pass in the northeast of Afghanistan. The fuel truck overturned and caught fire around 8:30 p.m. local time on Saturday, where left both sides of the mountainous pass blocked. Officials said that the tanker exploded after rolling over, and the subsequent fire set several other vehicles ablaze. On Monday, the government of Syria and the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, discussed ways to improve cooperation and to ensure the stability of children. The Syrian Minister of Foreign Affairs received the UNICEF Regional Director for the Middle East and North Africa at the Foreign Ministry headquarters. During the meeting, they discussed the effects of the war, the economic sanctions imposed by the West on Syria, and their consequences on education, health, and children. On Monday, Ghana announced the temporary suspension of its external debt services and the beginning of a restructuring to face the escalating inflation. The Ministry of Finance specified that the measure aims to prevent further economic, financial, and social deterioration of the country, which has very limited financial reserves. The office explained that the suspension of payments is a provisional measure of emergency that will cease once the agreements are reached with all international creditors. And after the end of the World Championship in Qatar, the 2026 event will be held in a new format that will include a total of 48 teams for the first time.
The initiative is the product of a reform initiated by current FIFA President Gianni Infantino, passed in 2017, and involved significant logistical challenges by increasing the number of matches from 64 to 100. The organization has not yet determined whether it will be organized in 12 groups of 4 teams or in 16 groups of 3, although the first option is one considered the more convenient by the organizers. With the expansion of teams, Africa would obtain 8 places instead of the current 5, and Asia would increase to 9. Oceania's quota will also be permanent and will not depend on the playoffs. Meanwhile, Europe will go from 13 representatives to 16, while South America would have 6 places and CONCACAF will have a total of 6 teams, including the 3 hosts, leaving 2 places available, which will be assigned by means of the playoffs. Other changes associated with the new format are the expansion of venues, motivated by the need to play in 16 stadiums, and the increase in the economic benefits of FIFA, an organization that is already managing a record budget forecast of $11 billion for the next 2023-2026 cycle.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.